thousands of people have mysteriously vanished in America's wilderness. Join us as we dive into the deep end of the unexplainable and try to piece together what happened. You are listening to Locations Unknown.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Locations Unknown. I'm your co-host, Joe Irado, and with me, as always, is a guy who would never stare directly into the sun during an eclipse, Mike Van de Bogart.
Thank you, Joe, and thank you.
Did you look at the sun without glasses?
Real quickly. Just enough to hurt a little. Yeah. And then I didn't. I stopped.
Did you see the Google searches?
Yeah.
That spiked right after the eclipse was, why do my eyes hurt?
Yeah. We're heading towards idiocracy.
We're already there. Yeah. We're already wearing Krux.
Yeah. Pretty soon we'll be watering our crops with Gatorade. So.
Well, it's got electrolytes.
Yeah.
It's what crops crave. Do you know the story about the Krux with that show?
No.
Or that movie? So we'll do this real quick, and if you don't like it, too bad. Fast forward this part. But in the movie, when they filmed it, Krux were a new company, and the budget for costumes was super low. So the costume designer went out and was tasked with finding the stupidest shoe that what idiots would wear. Yeah. And they found this Krux company that was brand new and no one heard of them, and that's why everyone in the movie has Crocs on, because that's what they labeled as like idiots would wear these in the future. And we all wear Crocs now.
That's funny. Great movie. If anyone listening hasn't seen Idiocracy.
Idiocracy. It's funny.
Yeah. Well, back on track here. Thank you to all the loyal listeners for tuning in. Just some quick updates. First, Patreon shout-outs. We got Sean Gillis, Tifren, Julie Whitlock, and Diane.
Now, Sean Gillis.
Yeah. Not Shane.
Shane, are you sure?
Yeah, because it's not Shane. It's
but he doesn't pronounce it like that?
I don't think so.
I can just pretend in my head. Shane Gillis signed up for our Patreon.
Yep. So,
all right.
Thank you, Shane or Sean. Your support helps us improve the show. We're getting new cameras in the studio. Or we have them. We just got to set them up.
Yes.
So
very excited about that.
Yeah. Very high quality. Yep. So, your support on Patreon and YouTube memberships and all the other places helps us continually upgrade our equipment. And we're looking to maybe bring on a part-time researcher.
Yes. We'll be posting the job listing. It'll be a paid position. Yep. And the idea would be to put out enough content we can do about an episode a week. Yeah. Maybe more. Who knows? We'll see how that goes. So if you are or have research experience, we'll be posting the job listing on the socials and some other places. So just keep your eyes peeled. Keep your eyes peeled.
Other than that, if you want to call the show, leave a voicemail. You can call 208-391-6913. Anything from you, Joe?
Just happy to be back. I mean, what we haven't done, we did one right before I left.
It's been 3 weeks.
3 weeks, so okay. So people are probably getting upset. So we could do a patron maybe quick if you have time, or I can talk about Costa Rica.
Yeah, let's do it.
A little bit. We'll do that.
All right.
All right, everybody, let's gear up and get out to explore Locations Unknown. Two brothers from Alaska, on 2 occasions, separated by 11 years. Both went missing without a trace. Each story is strange on its own, but what are the odds that they occur in the same family? Join us this week as we investigate the strange disappearances of the Palmer brothers. love your sneeze button.
I do love it.
You get so excited when you have to use it. I feel like you sneeze more now because of the button.
I do.
That's hilarious.
I sneeze liberally.
So I practiced some of these names, so I'm still gonna butcher them. But I tried. I actually did what some people complain about. So this is taking place in Alaskan wilderness. It's going to be close to the Denali National Park area, but it is in the Wasilla. It's in Wasilla, Alaska, the Talkeetna Mountains in the Nelkina public use area.
Yeah, so one of the brothers went missing in Wasilla, and one went missing in the public use area. But Denali was kind of relatively, by Alaska terms, close to both of them. And
like 1,000 miles away?
No. A couple hundred miles, I think.
Yeah, which is by Alaska terms very close.
Yeah, and I've hiked Denali, so I know the park a little bit, and I figured...
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and it gives you a general idea of what the Alaska wilderness is like. Denali is a very remote park.
All right, so we'll be talking about Denali, but with the understanding that these areas are similar and within a couple hundred miles of that. So that's what you'd expect. So Denali is 4.7 million acres, 11,700 square miles. It is the third largest national park and about the same size as Belgium.
It's a big park.
Everything in Alaska is big. Do you ever see the pictures of Alaska hovered over the lower 48?
Yeah, it's like half the country.
It takes like half the country because everyone's like, oh, Texas is huge. It's like, yeah, like 10 Texases would fit in Alaska. Probably not that much, but a lot.
Yeah, I don't think it's 10 Texas is pretty big, but it's like half the continental U.S.
It's crazy big. So if you want to know more about that, we have the Alaska Triangle episode you can go back and listen to. But it was established, this is Denali, not Alaska, on February 26, 1917, and sees roughly 427,000 visitors per year, and that is as of 2022.
Which is pretty good considering
that's very good considering the remoteness, because there's not a lot of people that live up there.
No.
So here's a little history of Denali National Park. Human habitation in the Denali region extends to more than 11,000 years before today, with documented sites just outside the park boundaries dated to more than 8,000 years before present. However, relatively few archaeological sites have been documented within the park boundaries, owing to the region's highest elevation with harsh winter conditions and scarce resources compared to lower elevations in the area. The oldest site within the park boundaries is the Teklanica River site, dated to about 7,130 BC. More than 84 archaeological sites have been documented within the park. The sites are typically characterized as hunting camps rather than settlements and provide little cultural context. So it's amazing to me that people just lived up there back then.
Yeah.
It's hard to live up there now with all of electricity and heat and all those modern amenities, and there are people still figuring it out back then. That's insane.
Yeah.
They're like, we only hunt here.
Yeah.
Like that's all we're going to do.
That's all we're doing.
The presence of the Athabascan people in the region is dated to 1,500 to 1,000 years before present on linguistic and archaeological evidence, while researchers have proposed that the Athabascans may have inhabited the area for thousands of years before then. The principal groups in the park area in the last 500 years include the Koyukan, the Tanana, and the Dinanan people. Oh man, I'm gonna get so we're gonna call the number.
You did pretty good.
I tried. I literally listened to them, but I think it is like a Midwest thing.
Yeah.
We don't say words like this enough, so it's just tongue twister for me.
Oh yeah.
Even though I heard it like 10 times, I'm like, I'm gonna get it. Like
whatever.
I tried.
You tried.
So some interesting facts about Alaska. Alaska is home to 17 of North America's tallest mountains. Of the 20 highest peaks in the U.S., 17 are in Alaska, including the highest peak in North America at 20,320 feet above sea level, Denali. According to a National Park Service article, 9 Alaska Native groups and 5 Athabascan languages have had unique names for Denali that all translate to some form of the Great One or the Tall One. There's a lot of Alaskan tribes that have like many words for the same thing. Isn't like Eskimos have like 100 words for snow?
I have no clue.
I've always heard that, but it could also be like a thing people said that just had no basis in reality.
I mean, you gotta. For those of you who've been to Denali National Park, when you're driving up to it, it's like flat, and then it's just this massive mountain, like right in front of you. And I imagine like ancient people probably just like worship the mountain.
Sure,
it looked
if
like,
it's just like, oh hey, what's going on
the
here?
The gods live on top of that mountain. Like, I mean, it's that impressive.
That's awesome. I need to go climb that. Alaska has more than 100 volcanoes and volcanic fields. Alaska contains more volcanoes and volcanic fields than any other state in the U.S. Don't worry, according to the U.S. Geological Survey, Alaska volcanoes have produced 1 or 2 eruptions since 1900. That makes me more worried.
Yeah, that something's going to go soon.
Yeah, like they're all building up.
Yeah.
It'd be less worrisome if they all kind of erupted a little bit all the time.
Yeah.
Alaska has more coastline than the rest of the United States. Combined, more than 34,000 miles. That is insane.
Yeah. I mean, it's all coast.
Going from Wisconsin to Florida is like 2,000 miles.
Yeah.
That's like going back and forth like 10 times, 12 times. That's insane. That's all the beach with none of the crowds. The state with the second most coastline is Florida with 8,000 miles of coastline, and that's 25% of what Alaska has. They do have 3 coastlines in 3 different seas. There are the Atlantic Ocean, the Pacific Ocean, and the Bering Sea.
Arctic Ocean.
The Arctic. What did I say?
Atlantic.
I did say Atlantic. See, we corrected this now. Someone's like already dialing the phone.
It's not even live yet.
So you can pick your Alaskan vacation based on which body of water you want to visit, or do the trifecta.
There you go.
Go swim in each one.
I don't know.
Die of hypothermia.
Yeah, the Bering.
In a wetsuit.
The Arctic Ocean. Ooh.
Yeah. Now you could do the dredge diving for gold.
There you go.
Yes. 3% of Alaska is covered by glaciers. So if you want to see beautiful blue ice that's thousands of years old, a trip to Alaska might be the way to go.
And that's crazy because Alaska's huge. So 3% of Alaska is a big number.
Yeah, that's... I mean, it's just snow there all the time.
Joe and I are both dumb, so we're not going to do the math live for you, but just trust us. It's a big number.
Yeah, 3% of Alaska is huge. It's probably like a state.
Yeah.
Like the size of a
state.
It's
like Connecticut.
Yeah. There's more glacier than Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Alaska's population density is 1 person per square mile. That means plenty of area to get out and explore without the large crowds and also get lost and have no one notice for a while.
Yeah, exactly.
Alaska is approximately 50 miles from Russia. No, you cannot see it from your house. If you could drive across the ocean, you could be there in under an hour. Well, you can drive across the ocean in a boat.
Yeah, it's true.
So Alaska does have pleasant summers. Highest temperature recorded in Alaska was 100 degrees in Fort Yukon in 1915. If the cold January temperatures in Fairbanks aren't for you, plan your interior Alaska vacation during the summertime to enjoy warmer temperatures. That's actually kind of surprising. I wonder how far north it gets.
When we were in Anchorage, it was really hot. It was in like the 80s, and no one there has air conditioning, so it was like sweltering inside buildings. Because, I mean, why would you...
Nobody knew what to do.
Yeah, so why would you have air conditioning in Alaska? I mean, but yeah, it gets warm there.
And of all the mistakes Russia has made, this might be one of the bigger ones. They sold us Alaska for $7.2 million.
And what's funny is I had to go look. I plugged in that into an inflation calculator. That's only $270 million in today's dollars.
Which that's a lot of money.
But there's houses in like LA that go for that.
I know, right? Like
they sold Alaska.
Yeah, I know, right? And like oil resources, fishing resources, like. Yeah,
strategic. I mean,
all of it.
The
deal was originally ridiculed though and called a Seaward's folly in the other press. So like everyone at the time was like, haha, you got bilked.
Yeah.
Like no. When gold was found in 1898, people flocked to the region. Now Alaska celebrates Seaward's Day each March 30th to commemorate the sale. So they're just rubbing it in Russia's face.
I mean, talk about the fire sale of human history right there.
I know, right?
That is so cheap.
$7.2 million.
Yeah.
Is that like 3 cents a square mile? Like, that's another math one I'm not going to do. What's our 2 brothers that call in? One of them should do the crazy math and call in and let us know.
North Dakota Ned.
North Dakota Ned or Montana Mike.
Yeah.
Giant vegetables are coming to Alaska. At the Alaska State Fair, farmers show off their large veggies and compete for world records. Scott Robb still holds the world record for his 138.25 pound cabbage presented in 2012. Scott and Marty Robb also hold the record for the world's largest turnip, coming in at 39 pounds and 3 ounces. That's actually pretty wild because you feel like large stuff can only grow in warm climates.
Yeah.
So they figured it out.
Yeah.
Scott and Marty Robb. You guys.
138 pound cabbage. That's wild.
That is 39 pound turnip.
I'm trying to picture what a turnip even looks like.
It's like a red.
It's like an onion kind of.
No, it's like a red ball. Like it's do you know what a beet looks like?
Yeah.
It's like a red version of that. When you cut it open, it's like whitish in the middle. And I'm colorblind, so I could be a little off in the colors.
So a 39 pound version of that.
Yeah.
That's
so
crazy.
39 paw, like it'd be like a kettlebell. Just a turnip. All right. According to our friends at the Köppen climate classification system, I've been in Costa Rica too long surfing. Denali Park is a subarctic climate. I bet everyone could have guessed that one. Long winters are followed by a short growing season. 80% of the bird population returns after the cold months, raising their young. Most mammals and other wildlife in the park spend the brief summer months preparing for winter and raising their young. Summers are usually cool and damp, but temperatures in the 70s are not rare. The weather is so unpredictable that there have even been instances of snow in August. That doesn't sound unpredictable for Alaska.
Nope.
The north and the south side of the Alaskan range have completely different climates. The Gulf of Alaska carries moisture to the south side, but the mountains block the water to the north side. This brings a drier climate and huge temperature fluctuations to the north. The south has transitional maritime continental climates and with moisture, cooler summers and warmer winters. So some of the terrain, Denali National Park and Preserve includes the central highest portion of the Alaska Range, together with many of the glaciers and glacial valleys running southward out of the range. To the north, the park and preserve encompass the valleys of McKinley, Tolklat, and Forkar rivers, as well as the Conchina and Wyoming hills. The George Parks Highway runs along the eastern edge of the park, crossing the Alaska Range at the divide between the valleys of the Chultena River and the Nenana River.
Doing good with all these names.
Yeah, you just lay off it. Denali towers over the landscape at 20,310 feet tall. It's the tallest mountain in North America. It towers 3.5 vertical miles above its base, making it a mile taller from the base to the summit than Mount Everest. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
That's what I think a lot of people who don't climb don't understand, that just because a mountain's tall doesn't mean it's difficult.
Yeah.
But how aggressive it is makes it how difficult it is. So this one is a higher climb than Everest physically.
Yeah.
When you're actually climbing. That's wild. That's very aggressive. So that's where you're saying when you come up, it's all flat plains and it's just boom.
It's just boom. It's right there.
Yeah, so it probably even looks bigger than Everest would look, relatively speaking, because you're already up there.
I mean, I felt like when we were driving up, you could see it from hundreds of miles away. It was that big.
That's awesome. That's going to be like the next 14 of the 7 summits I do, I think.
Yeah, that's cool.
Its dominant presence reminds all that come to the park of the immense power of Earth. Glaciers etch out the land and fill up 16% of the park, appearing like white snakes slithering out of the mountains. Fossils of the park's prehistoric past show a story of a warmer past where dinosaurs roamed what is now this park. The Alaskan Range is a 600-mile-long arc of mountains that stretches from the Alaska-Canada border all the way to the Alaska Peninsula. The range is the highest at its midsection, a vast region of towering peaks and massive glaciers that lies within Denali National Park and Preserve. So some of the types of dangers, everything. Grizzly bears, black bears, wolves, caribou, moose, doll sheep, golden, and bald eagles. But there are no reptiles and only one amphibian, so you don't have to worry about the reptiles and the amphibians.
No snakes.
No snakes. Too cold. But the grizzlies up there are like the worst. The Cody.
Well, a lot of them are, well fed.
Yeah.
Like we were there during spawning season, and the rivers were like so jam packed with salmon that you could almost like walk across them.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. It
so
was
they
crazy.
Just gorge themselves in salmon?
They're just gorging, yeah. So like you could walk right by them, and they wouldn't. They're eating fish.
Well, that's
they
good.
Don't care.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Just don't try and live with them like that one guy.
Yeah.
So difficulty in general, as the park is largely devoid of trails, you have to give careful thought to what kind of landscapes or terrain you wish to experience. Focus your pre-trip research on units that sound appealing.
So the park is broken into units.
Is this closer to Australian system that we liked?
No.
It's still not great.
No, I mean the way the park. So this is from the Park Service. So the park is broken up into units, and they've kind of given different units for your skill level. But it's not like kind of what Australia. This is
how many units do you think we are?
Like on this. I mean, read through them and then.
I don't even know what it is. I just wanted to see if you. So Unit 1, which features the so the units are like squares of park that
big chunks of the park.
Okay, I thought they were saying like it was a classification. Like a Unit 1 is this hard, a Unit 2.
No, but this is beginner is this.
Okay, so Unit 1, Units 6 through 13, 18, 31 through 34, which feature open gravel areas along the river, making navigation easier. Okay. So they break it into units and then just say, hey, beginner, these are the units. Intermediates, consider almost any unit for a 2 or 3 night trip, except for the far western areas and the units around Denali and Mount Foraker. Be prepared for brush and river crossings as well as difficult navigation in wide open areas if clouds prevent you from seeing your surroundings. So that's probably where what's-his-face went missing when he was in the bus.
Oh, yeah. What's that movie?
Yeah. I forget.
Everyone knows what we're talking about.
Yeah, but he got stuck in a couple river crossings. That's why he couldn't get around.
Yeah.
Experts level, I would not be doing that.
No.
Consider the remote, little-seen western parts of the park. Rivers are much bigger west of the Eelson Visitor Center, so prepare for significant water crossings. Any unit except the Denali Mount Foraker area could be possible. And mountaineering, the Park of the Alaska Range in Denali features numerous glaciated peaks. Common trips run from 4 to 10 days, and some mountaineers fly into the park to begin their expeditions. Climbing permits are required for Denali and Mount Foraker. Yeah, I'm going to do Denali. That's going to be in the next few years, I think.
It's cool.
I got to get that one on the list. And then what I want to do, and this might sound dumb to some people, but I want to do the coordinates of each of the 7 summits I do on my back shoulder in a tattoo. I don't have any tattoos. I'm not really into tattoos unless you do something like really significant. I feel like if I do the 7 summits, like I went to Africa, I did that one.
Yeah.
And when I get at least 2 of them, I'll start listing.
Hey.
So if someone has a better idea, call in, because I'm really nervous because I don't have any tattoos and I hate the idea of getting one and then it looking dumb.
Well,
I'll have to get like a semi-permanent one first.
Do a dry run where you get like a henna tattoo.
Yeah, I'll have them draw it on me in marker first or something like that. And everyone's like, what a dumb tattoo. I'm like, woo, dodge that bullet.
Just do it on your forehead first so you can see it. And if it looks good, then...
I'll just list them all in the center of my forehead. If you give me enough to drink, I might do something stupid like that.
There you go.
So the wildlife, grizzly bears. Grizzly bears are your biggest wildlife threat in Denali. As long as there's fish available, you'll be fine. Here are some tips, though, to stay safe in grizzly country. Carry bear spray and know how to use it. That's a key. Every time I go to a national park where there's bears, like the rules now, we were just in Glacier. They made you take it out of your bag and hold it because so many people had them discharging in the buses.
Oh, yeah.
Like when people are traveling, they'd just be like, oops.
Well,
like,
and another thing to do is check the wind direction.
Yeah.
So if the wind's blowing at you, you just basically peppered yourself.
Yeah.
And made yourself more tasty for the bear.
Yes.
And blinded yourself.
And you won't be able to see him coming as he comes and kills you. You want to make lots of noise and often to avoid surprising a bear. So this one, a lot of people get wrong. So when we go hiking in places like Glacier, we'll bring like a stereo and play music. We don't blast it, but we play a little bit and like have bells and we're always yelling.
As long as you're talking with your group, that should be enough.
Yeah, it should be enough. But some people be like, you're going to just keep it quiet. It's like, well, actually, no, you really don't want to surprise a bear. Like,
yeah, the whole thing is, and you don't have to be like,
obnoxious about it.
But like when you're coming up on the trail to like a bend where you can't see around it.
Yeah, corners are danger.
Maybe 20 or 30 feet before you're around it. Start getting loud.
Yeah, and you yell, hey, bear.
Hey, bear.
and then you hear, if it's a Midwest bear, he goes, oh, sorry, moving out to you. Let me scooch by you. You want to hike with other people. That's a big one, too. I think when we were in Glacier, he said there's never been a documented case where a bear's attacked a group of 4 or more people.
Yeah.
Because so when you have your big bags on and you're together, you look like a formidable threat, so that you could potentially stave off a charge. Mm-hmm. You never run from a bear. This one's hard for some people to get, but running will make them.
It's just like with
their
a dog.
innate instinct.
If you're playing with a dog and you run, they chase after you.
Yes,
it's the same.
Except
kind of thing.
with a dog, he's playing. With a bear, it's like, oh, food.
Yeah.
If you encounter a grizzly bear at close range, you want to stay calm. Never attempt to distract the bear by dropping your pack or anything else. The pack actually can save you. So if you're getting hit with a bear, you can actually roll on your stomach and your pack will take the brunt of the hits.
Yeah.
So why a grizzly bear would approach you? Number one, you're in his way.
Yeah.
Number two, the bear might be curious and want to check you out. So again, like stay calm, get in your group, get ready, get defensive, but just chill out until he gets aggressive or she. If the bear feels threatened. So grizzly bears often see a fence as their last line of defense. If given the opportunity to move away from you, the bear heard you coming because you're making a lot of noise. The grizzly bear will often just move off without you even knowing it was there. However, if you surprise a grizzly bear, it will likely react to what it perceives as a potential threat with force. This can be a very serious situation, very different than dealing with a curious bear.
Yeah, a curious bear, like if it's just like standing there and sniffing, and it probably just walk away.
Yeah.
But if you startle a bear and it's threatened and frightened,
yeah, he's going to defend himself.
Now you better get your bear mace out.
Yep. So this animal I would be more afraid of in the wild than a bear is a moose. Moose are huge.
Yeah.
They're crazy. And they just won't give up trying to kill you potentially.
And the funny thing is, people, for the most part, do not treat moose with the respect they deserve out in the wilderness. We were in Denali, and there was a guy with a camera in the weeds about 15 feet from a bull, and the bull was like snorting and like
stomping,
and people on the road were yelling at him like, "Get out of like, get back!" And like it kind of started doing like a fake charge.
Yeah,
and like he slowly was like backing up, and we were standing on the road, like we're gonna see somebody get trampled to death.
Yeah,
like people just don't get that. I mean, they're the size of a small car.
Yeah, we were up in Boundary Waters, and one of the guys said, "Bear, you can scare away. Moose, you better be good at climbing a tree."
Yeah,
and he talked about
he said they're incredibly stupid.
They're stupid and they're angry, especially during the rut. So he said there's stories of moose that will get on a train track and just charge an oncoming train. Now it will be obliterated, but it'll literally charge head first, like I'm going to take you out, train.
Yeah.
So like they're going after, like they don't care how big you are.
And if it's the rut, they're extra stupid. Our buddy, one of our buddies from college lives in. He's from Alaska, and we went out with him one night for dinner, and he goes on this annual river trip. And he said one year, one of his buddies during the rutting season, there was a moose on the shoreline, and he took his 2 oars from his rowboat and put them on his head like antlers, and the moose started charging him. They're that stupid. Like
an idiot.
So you got to be really careful around moose.
Yeah, that's I was up in Boundary Waters and we were fishing. We saw a mom moose with babies, and we were in like 3 or 4 feet of water in a canoe. And I was with my wife, and she's like, "Oh, we should go get a picture." I'm like, "No." I'm like, "You see how they're standing? They can run like this is ground. We'd have to paddle. Like we're actually going to leave the area now."
No, and they're everywhere in Alaska.
Yeah.
Like you see them walking down the streets.
Well, and when I was with Jack up there, I got charged by one.
Yeah, that's right.
That scared it came out of because they graze underwater.
Yeah,
it came out of the water and started charging at me. And I think we'll have to have him on the show when he's in town and talk about the story. It could be a fun Patreon one. I'm not sure how far I jumped with a pack on my back, but it was superhuman.
Yeah.
I was so terrified. I jumped from, like, we weren't on the beach. Like, I was looking for the passageway, and it popped up, and before I knew it, I was airborne. I landed in the canoe, and I was rowing. And it was like 5 feet maybe.
Yeah.
Which I had my whole pack on and everything. Like, that's a ridiculous amount, but
that's crazy.
I don't even remember. I just remember I was in the boat and terrified.
Moose moose could be the more, I would say.
They scare me more than bears do, 100%. After I've not confronted bears, but camping Boundary Waters, I've scared black bears out of camp. Moose terrify me significantly more than bears do.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've seen moose, in Alaska, and grizzlies, and I don't know, they're equally terrifying in different ways.
Yes. They're equally terrifying in different ways. I feel like moose are more unpredictable.
Yeah.
And that's what scares me about it.
I feel like a grizzly, for the most part, you as a human did something wrong to provoke it.
Yes.
Versus a moose, you just look at it.
Yeah, moose are like the roided meatheads of the nature.
Yeah.
And grizzlies are like just the fat guy that just wants to eat, but if you piss him off, he's got a lot of fat to throw at you.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Sure, we're gonna get a lot of grizzly bear hate.
well, we need to talk to Tooth and Claw. That'll be our next collaboration. Yeah. We'll ask them what they think. So hypothermia is always a factor in the subarctic. Rainy, chilly days are normal in summer, so you want to dress in layers, preferably made out of wool or synthetic material that is able to insulate you even when wet. Bring rain gear or an umbrella. Do not wear cotton, and don't wear jeans.
Yeah, don't wear jeans.
Injuries. You want to be wary of falls. Most of the Denali is trailless, and long hikes are often on routes that you're on a route of your own choosing. If you think hiking up Rocky Hill or Mountain, you be careful of your footing. More people die from falls than any other cause in the park. And lastly, you want to know yourself and consider your skill level. So even if you plan to stay in the trails in the park or the park road the entire time you are here, keep in mind that even the entrance of Denali is several hours from the nearest hospital. Locations on the park road, bus trips are even more remote. If you know you have a medical condition such as a heart problem, talk to your doctor about travel plans to see if there is anything you should do to ensure a safe trip. Very few trails exist in Denali's backcountry. To have a comfortable experience, honestly assess the following questions. Can you read a topographic map? Can you orient yourself to a map with a compass? That's with there's heavy clouds making terrain difficult to see at any time and the distance. Have you hiked off trail before? Have you successfully camped in difficult weather? Snow can fall in any month of the year in Denali, particularly at high elevations. Wind is a common problem. Gusts of 60 miles an hour or more can occur on occasion. Those are all things that don't sound big.
Yeah.
When you're in the middle of nowhere, if you're wet, it's windy, and it's snowing, and you're not prepared, that will kill you. That's all it takes. So you want to pack smart. High-calorie foods are a must. Not only are you hiking, but it's often cold and rainy. It means your body's going to be heating itself. Bug spray is also a must. I've heard mosquitoes there are absolutely insane. There's like a couple weeks out of the year where they're like so thick you can like eat them by breathing.
Actually were they're like seasonally like good while we were there, so it wasn't a big problem. But yeah, sometimes it's so bad you got to hike with a mosquito net over your face and it's bad.
That sounds terrible.
Yep.
That's why I'll go on the mountain where they can't survive.
Yeah.
Tents. They strongly discourage bivy sack. So bivy sack is the sleeping bag that's a tent itself too. Mm. It's often raining and the bears are more likely to investigate bivvies and tents. We call them bear burritos.
Yep.
Gators. Stream crossings are common. Even if your gators aren't waterproof, they'll still help keep the debris and rocks out of your boots. Many rivers in Denali are glacially fed, and they carry a surprising amount of grit and rocks in their murky, fast waters. Trekking poles are always good. This is a huge debate on whether people think trekking poles are necessary. Proper layers, we talked about that. Bear spray. Note, this cannot be carried on planes or trains, nor can you drive through Canada with it. Yep. Plan on buying it in Alaska. They're like $30.
Yeah.
Just get them.
And then usually I think you can rent them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we rented bear spray.
Oh, that's nice. How much was it?
Not that much. I mean, it would probably be more cost effective to buy it if you're living there, but
I'm sure.
You just rent it and then you turn it back in when you're done.
Boom. Right on. So. Or you can just sneak it over the border of Canada.
Yeah.
All right. Let's learn more about our two brothers.
Okay. So we're going to start with the first brother who went missing. His name was Michael Palmer. He was born January 8th of 1984. He went missing June 4th of 1999. His remains have not been found. He was a male, age 15. Height, he was 5'5" to 5'6", weighed 110 pounds. He had brown hair, blue eyes. At the time of his disappearance, his hair was shaved on the sides and longer in the middle. Clothing he was last seen in, it was a t-shirt, blue jeans, and a black jacket with red stripes on the sleeves, and the Marlboro cigarette logo on the lapel. We don't really know much more about his any issues or personality. We do know that his family said that he wouldn't be the kind of kid that would just run off and want to disappear, and he wasn't suicidal. So we will jump right into his timeline. So it starts off June 4th, 1999. So Michael Palmer spent the night at a friend's home in Wasilla, Alaska. And I think Wasilla, that's the city the former John McCain's vice presidential pick was from. Sarah Palin.
Sarah Palin.
Yeah. Digging way back for that one, that reference.
Oh man, I wish that wasn't so long ago. Not because of anything.
Old.
Not mostly because like it doesn't feel like it was that long ago, but it was like long ago.
No, yeah. Good way to say it. Doesn't feel that long, but it was like long ago.
Yeah. I mean, it's true.
So, like we said, he was at a friend's home in Wasilla, Alaska. He slipped out of the house and attended a graduation party with 3 friends near the Meadow Lake subdivision just outside of town. So it was reported that he drank a few beers at the party, but did not become noticeably intoxicated. So nothing out of the ordinary there. So it's now June 5th.
That's just north of Anchorage.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I included this disappearance just because they're both brothers. It wasn't really, I mean, all of Alaska is kind of like the wilderness, but
yeah,
Wasilla is in the Anchorage area, which is the biggest populated area of Alaska.
Yeah, but I mean, relatively speaking, it's like 20 miles away.
Yeah, I guess.
Okay.
So it's now June 5th, 1999, around 4 a.m. So Michael and his friends left the party and were riding home together on their bicycles when, according to his friends, he started lagging behind them and dropped out of sight. He was last seen on Pittman Road in the direction of his family's home. His home was approximately 9 miles from where the party was held. Michael's friends actually ended up waiting for him at a 7-Eleven on Parks Highway, but gave up and assumed he had headed home by himself, but he didn't actually make it home. So fast forward to 3 p.m. now on June 5th. This is when his mother actually reported him missing to the authorities. So getting into the search. Right away, the bicycle which Michael had been using that night, which I guess was borrowed, was later found in the Little Satina River, which runs roughly parallel to Pittman Road and Silver Drive intersection. Unfortunately, searchers brought out tracker dogs, but they couldn't trace his scent at the spot. So this is a little strange, too. Michael's wet and muddy high-top Converse sneakers were also found near a private runway for a homeowner's personal aircraft about 200 yards from the river. So they found his bike in the river, and then they found his shoes all muddy at this airport, which is a little odd.
Well, they said a private residence?
Yeah, private runway.
Okay, so that might be someone's house.
No, yeah, it might.
You know how like some of those houses up there, like their garages, they have a single prop airplane in it, and like so like it's not an airport.
No, but so about two football fields away from the river, from where the bicycle was found.
Yeah, so here's the river, winding. I hope that it cleans up a little bit because I want to see if there's like
scoot down.
Like this is a runway,
go
maybe
south.
Well, here's Pittman Road.
Yeah, go by that lake. Is that a runway? Over there.
Where? This thing?
Yeah.
That might just be power lines. I'm looking at this. Yeah, this is a runway right here.
You sure?
Yeah, it's like in neighborhoods. You ever seen these houses? Look at see, there's planes.
Yeah, so there's a runway.
Like people land planes to their house. That's how remote Alaska is. Like it's the neighborhood has just a runway. Like you never seen pictures of that? Like it's a subdivision of houses, and it's just like it's car street next to it's a runway street, and people drive their planes and their cars.
There's a place like that down by Rockford, Illinois.
Okay, that's probably like rich people.
Yeah,
that one's rich people. This one's probably out of necessity.
So I don't know if this is the runway, but I mean,
this is just south of
about
Pittman
200
Road.
Yards.
Yeah.
Yeah. So either way, we can't confirm that's the airport. I don't know which airport it was, but
that's the only one I can see.
Yeah,
with planes.
Yeah, so that might be it. So troopers on the search said the bicycle they pulled from the river was the one Michael was riding, but his family said it was a different bike. This confused the situation. Michael's oldest brother, Chris, did not believe the bike found in the river was one Michael had been riding, and Michael's father remained skeptical of the story Mike's three friends told about the night Mike disappeared. Divers searched the river, and about 50 searchers combed the nearby woods, and troopers interviewed teenagers who had been at the party. Within 2 weeks, troopers received dozens of calls, many from teenagers who had attended a slew of parties held in the area that week. Some reports speculated that Michael may have been beaten by an unknown suspect or suspects while riding his bike. A local youth claimed he witnessed Michael being attacked and shot on a bridge, but later he admitted he had made up the story. At least 3 anonymous callers to Crime Stoppers said Palmer had been hit in the head in a fight at a second party. Troopers tracked down the people who were there and finally learned that Palmer had never been at the party. So there's a lot of, at the time, a lot of...
He was there, he wasn't there, he was attacked, he wasn't attacked. So there's no information.
Kind of adds a little strangeness to the story. So troopers got reports that Palmer had left the party with 2 people in a blue sedan. Then the sedan turned up in Valdez. 2 investigators flew down immediately. Right people, right car, wrong party. So with posters of Palmer scattered throughout South Central Alaska, the calls still kept coming in, although they started dwindling as the weeks went on. So Michael's father remained skeptical about the 3 friends' story from the night Michael went missing and hired 2 different private investigators to look into things. Strangely, one of the investigators apparently left town because she was threatened, and the other one uncovered rumors that Michael never left the party and was a victim of a murder or kidnapping. However, nothing could be substantiated with law enforcement. Others simply believe that Michael may have fallen into the river and died of hypothermia, but troopers were quick to shoot this theory down because the water is shallow and clear and runs into a log jam a little more than a mile downstream. So
they would have found him.
Yeah. So it's probably highly unlikely that he fell in the river. Michael's mother to this day believes that he was abducted, and many reports state that the family grew very frustrated at the time with law enforcement. They thought 100% it was foul play, and law enforcement kept playing that down, saying no, just an unfortunate accident. So that is the timeline of...
Do we want to do theories on this one, or do we want to do both of them and then do theories?
Let's do theories first on this one and then on
okay,
because they're not...
We'll try not to ramble too much.
Yeah, they're not like related.
Okay.
So
that's what I was kind of wondering, is like they're so separate, but
yeah. So you go first.
Oh, okay. I feel like everyone's a liar.
Yeah.
Except for the people that came into town to like actually research the story.
Yeah.
So this is just my gut on hearing the story, so it means nothing other than it's just my opinion. The person that went to town said that they think he was murdered. And with stories changing so much,
yeah,
I feel like that one has the most weight behind it.
Yeah.
Now, who did it? I have no idea. But for whatever reason,
at one of the parties.
Yeah, it happened at one of the parties, and for whatever reason, everyone's covering it up. And this could be my I grew up with the I Know What You Did Last Summer movies, and like that's what it sounds like. Kind of like a bunch of friends did something bad, and they're all covering.
Or maybe they got into an argument at the party, he left, and they followed him, and then some altercation happened on his way home.
Yeah.
And my only concern with that is it sounds like it was just like high school kids at these parties.
Yeah. I think it was, and just got out of hand.
Is there anyone at a high school party that could commit murder? Like,
it's definitely happened. I'm not saying intentionally. If you know what happens, a lot of high school parties, fights, stupid crap. So if he gets in a fight, whether he started or someone else did, and he gets hit just right in the head and dies, it's not quote unquote intentional homicide. But like I'm looking at it as like something bad happened.
So now are these, the kids that did this they're not professional criminals, hitmen. Are they going to have the skill to cover up a murder to the point where police literally could not find any evidence of foul play? That's the part that kind of hangs me up.
Well,
where I'm leaning more towards abduction. So
I just don't think he fits the profile of someone that gets abducted.
I mean, a 15-year-old boy. There's some weird
it's usually
people out there.
Yeah, there's weird people, but I feel like it's mostly like young women or young girls.
Yeah.
That are like easier to like. Think about if you're having someone that's a deranged psycho, they're gonna look for easy target. Yeah, he's with his friends. Like,
yeah.
I don't feel like, and all their stories are changing.
Yeah.
Whenever that happens, somebody's lying. And
Yeah.
and could it just be bad police work in a small town?
Maybe he was doing more than just a few beers and
or if
like got real messed
I don't
up.
like saying some of this stuff because it's like don't speak ill to people, but like
Yeah.
what if he's a troublemaker in town?
Yeah.
So like something bad happens, it's like, oh yeah, the Palmer boys are at it again, and he's missing, and they just don't care. Not that that's a good thing or that's okay, but we've also seen that too. It's like, so if something bad happened to him, and all this, everyone's making stuff up. It doesn't seem like they're.
So now explain why the shoes were found at the airport or at the runway, 200 yards away.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Like they were just dispersing his stuff, or
Yeah, but why?
or maybe he was attacked and was running away, and he lost his shoes. I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah, so
They're positive they were his shoes.
Yeah, so like his bike was thrown into the river because the troopers said the river, he couldn't have drowned in the river because he would have been found at the log jam. So something happened to him where his bike was thrown into the river.
No, and here's the deal. The friends say it was his bike. You said he borrowed the bike.
Yeah.
His parents said it wasn't his bike. Kind of sounds like he stole a bike.
I don't know. Yeah.
Like, that's all I thought of was like, oh, his friend said he borrowed it.
Yeah.
Well, if your friends are helping cover something up,
Yeah.
they're not going to be like, oh, yeah, he stole this kid's bike. Like, no, he borrowed someone's bike.
Yeah.
Because his parents are like, that isn't his. And his friends saying, yeah, that was his.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean...
Which doesn't make sense if they're the ones who did something and they found a bike. They'd be like, no, that's not his bike. And his parents are like, no, that's not his. It's the wrong bike.
Yeah, I don't know. I know you're leaning towards somebody at the party maybe murdered him. I'm leaning more towards he was abducted on his ride home.
I don't want to say murdered. I want to say something bad happened.
They got into a fight and he accidentally killed him.
Yeah.
And
like,
then
I've gotten in stupid fights in high school, and there's always that 1 in a million where like punches are thrown and somebody gets hit, falls down, hits their head in a certain way, and now they're dead. And it was supposed to be something stupid, and the worst thing possible happened.
And the other thing is, though, like, would everyone at the party lie to police? Like, I don't know.
How many people do you think are at the party?
We don't know.
Exactly. What if it was like 5 people?
Yeah, that's true. We don't know how big a party.
It's a small Alaskan town.
Yeah. I don't know. So very interesting. I'm going to lean towards abduction. He had a 9-mile ride home to his house. It's 4 a.m. But, altercation, possible. I'm having a hard time coming up with how, high school kids who accidentally just killed someone are now going to have the skill to clean up a crime scene.
Well, that's right. I don't think they did. They threw the bike in the river. Their shoes in the airport. It's kind of messy.
I guess,
it just looked at it as like law enforcement didn't seem to care.
Yeah, maybe it was that.
Like, everyone's story's changing and just like, dumb kids.
Yeah.
All right.
So, yeah, interesting case. Not really a case that we would normally cover, but just because of his older brother who went missing. So his older brother is the second person of this episode, Charles Chucky Palmer. His full name was Charles Edwin Palmer. Date missing. He went missing on April 10th, 2010. Remains have not been found, but he was legally declared dead in 2011. He is a male, age 30. Height was 5'8" to 6 feet, 135 to 160 pounds, brown hair, blue eyes. Clothing gear last seen in, he had a black Gore-Tex jacket, vest, black snow pants, black boots, and a black snowboarding helmet. So, again, we don't know really anything more about Chucky. We don't know his capability in the wilderness or anything. I do know that he was not prepared. He had that gear on, but he had no survival gear with him if something happened. So he was not prepared to be out in the woods if, his snowmobile broke down. So his timeline, and this is really sad. So you've got 3 brothers, Michael, Charles, and Chris. Chris is the oldest. Chucky's the middle, and Michael's the youngest. So Michael went missing in 1999. Now it's 2010. Chucky goes missing. So 2 brothers go missing in 11 years. which is pretty crazy. So our timeline starts April 2010. So Chucky was with his brother Chris on a trip to Talkeetna Mountains in Alaska with their stepfather Chuck Palmer Sr. and two friends. The group had parked their cars on Mastodon Road, cool road name, and we're going to ride snowmobiles to a cabin near Sheep Creek. It is Saturday, April 10th still. So the handlebar on Chris's snowmobile snapped off, forcing him to stay behind at the cabin while everyone else went on a trip through the woods. Now, ordinarily, Chris was always the guy who would bring up the back end of the group of guys just to make sure everyone else made it, because he was a pretty strong rider, and Chucky was not. So, and he even was quoted saying, "I'm usually the last rider out there to make sure nobody gets left behind." But that day, Chucky had brought up the rear. So it's still April 10th. It's now around 7:15 p.m. So the group is heading back to the cabin on the main trail. But around 7:15 p.m., Chucky became separated from them and disappeared. He wasn't a strong rider compared to the others, and Chris believed that the others were riding too fast for Chucky to keep up. So Chucky was riding at the back of the group, and according to the others, they didn't realize he had dropped behind them until they saw him heading the wrong direction. There is no explanation for why they didn't follow him and tell him to turn around. Chris Palmer thinks the older men, like I said, were traveling too fast. Chucky obviously was dressed appropriately for the cold weather, but didn't have survival gear, didn't have a GPS device, didn't have food or water. Sadly, he was the father to 3 daughters, a 9-year-old and twin 10-year-olds. So it's always sad when there's kids left behind. Mm-hmm. So it's now early morning on the 11th, and this is when he was reported missing. So we are going to jump into the search timeline a bit here. So an extensive search of the area turned up no sign of him. But they actually found the snowmobile relatively quickly in deep snow 12 miles from the cabin. He had apparently left the main trail and gone off the side of the trail, then got stuck in soft snow. This is very strange now. Despite the soft deep snow, no footprints were found near the snowmobile, and the helmet he was wearing was never located. It snowed several inches after he disappeared, but it seems unlikely the snow could have completely concealed tracks Chucky would have made in the snow if he had left his machine in search of the main trail. So you think about it, like they said there was over 2 feet of snow. So if you jump off your snowmobile, you're going to create huge spots. I mean, you're going to be like
trudging through it.
You're going to leave like a little valley of.
So like, even if it snows some, you're going to still see this dip.
It could snow like 7 inches, and you would still know someone walked there.
Yeah,
nothing. It was like no one was on the snowmobile, which is crazy.
That is wild.
Yeah, and even late, I have a quote from one of the firefighters on the search that it. You might have to play your X-Files music. Not yet. Oh, I should have just let you play it.
Yeah.
So, very interesting that there was no tracks from the snowmobile. So,
well, and what's interesting too is people who live there and know the area are saying that. So it's not like, oh, we're saying it like, oh, it's people who live there are like, this is odd.
Yeah.
And what we learned from our Alaska Triangle episode is people go missing on snowmobiles a lot.
Yeah.
Because it's such big, vast areas. If you run out of gas, if you break down, like, it can be life or death. That machine, you're relying on it to survive. It's not like if you lose gas in the freeway in a city, you can like walk somewhere real quick.
AAA or something.
Exactly. Like you're stuck.
Yeah.
So that's why.
No survival gear, no GPS.
Yeah.
Nothing.
I mean, so here's the Talkeetna Mountains. It's remote. Look at this. There's one road out of the Wasilla area.
Have you found, where's Mastodon Road? Were you able to find that?
Oh, I didn't even look yet. But I mean, look, the one main road.
Yeah.
So I'll look for that right now.
Yeah. So similar to a lot of searches that we've covered, weather hampered this search from day one. Trooper helicopter could only get up in the air on some days, and deep, wet snow made travel difficult for searchers on snowmobiles. Here's a quote from Sergeant Troy Shuey.
Yeah, here's Macedon.
Okay. So they parked there and they had a snowmobile ride to a cabin. So
it looks like the road is just in the middle of nowhere. Look, it doesn't. Oh, here it goes. It goes that way. Okay.
It's still remote, and
it's super remote.
And they had 28 inches of snow.
That's wild.
So, this guy on the search said we got 28 inches of snow since the search started. So it's now Wednesday, April 15th of 2010. This was when the official search was called off. After a few days on Wednesday, no trace of Chucky was ever found. He was presumed to have perished from exposure and was declared legally dead in April 2011. Chris spent 4 days searching for his brother, snow machining through the foothills of Bald Mountain with other volunteers. So
here's a view from the airplane.
It's thick.
That's very thick.
Yeah. You just imagine that terrain with, 28 inches of snow.
Yeah. It'd be beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, it'd be absolutely beautiful.
But deadly if you got stuck or lost.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. That's their street view. It's a plane.
It literally is. Yeah. I hit street view and it's only an airplane.
Yeah.
Look at that.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Float plane too. So this was a quote from Chris, the oldest brother. There were times when it reminded him of driving Wasil's back roads 11 years ago looking for Michael. Quote, I never thought I'd have to deal with this crap ever again. Two brothers aren't supposed to go missing from the same family. So Fire Chief Ken Farina, who was involved in the search, said he could think of no explanation for Chucky's disappearance other than, cue the music, alien abduction.
I mean,
not to make light of it,
but who said this again?
The fire chief.
There you go. So
he said he could not think of any explanation for his disappearance other than alien abduction. He said he found no clues and no evidence Chucky had ever been anywhere near the area where they found his snow machine. So, and then in May 2010,
just lifted up straight from the machine,
just gone. Alaska State Troopers performed a second search in May 2010 after some of the snow had melted, looking for his body. But again, they found no sign of Chucky. So they went back to where the snowmobile was found and nothing,
That is wild.
That's strange. This one is puzzling because I feel like there would have been tracks. Like the snowmobile got there somehow.
Yeah.
It didn't just like it airlifted and dropped in. He was on it and it stopped there.
So they're saying even the snowmobile didn't leave tracks.
No, they didn't say that.
I was going to say, I thought it just said
no, they
feet,
said there were no human tracks leading away from the snowmobile.
Yeah.
So the snowmobile was there. They know he was on it. Where did he go? The only thing I can think of is, did he walk back in the tracks of the snowmobile?
I bet he did.
But I would feel like
they'd be smart enough to also think of that.
Yeah,
Well, I thought of that as you were saying it, just thinking of when there's deep snow and someone's walking in front of you. What do? You step in their footprints.
And so logically, I'm thinking these tracks would go all the way back to where I started, so I just walk back.
Well, and it's easier to walk on.
Yeah,
it's a path.
But then how would you get lost?
Based on the chief's reasoning for him being missing, I don't know if there's a lot of brain cells at work in this operation. So is it possible he did do that and they're just like, he's disappeared, it's aliens?
You know what?
Do you think he was just saying that facetiously, like just saying?
I think he probably
he threw his arms up, was like we don't know, it's got to be aliens.
Because from my interactions with people in Alaska, especially people related to outdoors, activities and stuff, they're super nice, very knowledgeable.
Yeah.
And Alaska's different kind of life living up there.
Sure.
It's not like living in the lower 48.
So I'm being overly harsh on these people?
Yeah, I think a little bit.
All right.
Now that's not to say there's probably, a couple.
Hey, nope. You keep me in my put me in my place. Put me in my place, Mike. That's good.
I don't know this fire chief, but I bet he's probably pretty experienced in the wilderness, and
I think anyone that lives there, even if they're not experienced, they understand snow and conditions like that better.
They're more experienced than any of us because they have to live this.
Exactly.
So I tend to believe when he says there literally was no clues or no evidence that he was even there, that's him basically saying, like, I don't know what the hell happened.
Yeah,
like,
he is just dumbfounded.
He was on the snowmobile, and then he was just gone.
Yes. I'm now you won me over. I was being too critical.
All right, so theories on the second one. He had no survival gear. So if he did like walk the snowmobile tracks back and then got turned around somewhere else.
That's where I'm wondering if he made it a really far way and if he went off path.
Or if he like found the snowmobile tracks from his other buddies and then tried like, all right, I'm just going to meet up with them.
Well, I'm wondering if he came to where because they said he split off.
Yep.
If
he went off trail some reason.
Exactly. And he gets back there and just goes the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Like, because if one way is back to the cabin, the other way is the direction they were already going.
Yeah.
And then he's racing against the clock. No supplies. Like, you can only walk so far in those conditions.
Yeah.
Before you run out of gas or freeze. So I'm looking he didn't stay there. He didn't get abducted by aliens.
He didn't get abducted but if he stayed on the snowmobile tracks, the searchers would have found him.
Maybe not. If he's walking in the track paths and it's at night, it's dark, he's tired, he could have just walked off trail. Yeah, but
why though? That deep snow, you would probably take the path of least resistance.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what I'm saying. He had to have walked in the tracks, and they didn't recognize it for some reason.
Yeah, maybe.
That's what I'm getting at. Is like if it was already compressed from the snowmobile, and he walks in, maybe it wasn't putting a deep footprint in, and then they got all that new snow, and you couldn't see like a foot imprint like you'd normally see if he put his whole leg into it. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
Okay,
it's like, all right, they're not dumb, but they're also not seeing something that was there because it was covered up with a blanket of snow.
Yeah.
That's the only logical explanation besides aliens.
Yeah. No, that actually is a good theory. Like, I want to give the searchers the benefit of the doubt because, they're all the searchers we've talked to and read about are very experienced, and that's a good point. Maybe he did walk the snowmobile tracks back, but because there was already an indent in the snow.
Well, they are. I mean,
the
those
fresh
are heavy.
snow just covered it up.
Snowmobiles are heavy.
Yeah.
So it's going to pack that snow down. So if you're walking
on, plow it away.
It's going to plow it away and pack it down.
Yep.
And once it's packed down, you're not going to put a huge foot imprint in it anymore.
That's true.
Than if it was just fresh powder.
Especially they said it was like kind of a little wet.
There you go.
So it compacted.
Yeah, it was already compacted, so it was probably really easy to walk on, relatively speaking. So why would you go through a thick snow when you could go through compacted?
And then they said they got 28 inches of snow since the search started, so it was snowing a lot. So theoretically, if
that's 2 feet of snow, if he's collapsed somewhere, he's going to be covered up somewhere, probably nowhere near where they were searching.
If it hadn't continued to snow, you could have seen prints in that snow from his boots.
Yes, I would agree with that.
If it snowed, if there was like 6 or 7 inches on the ground before the search started, like you would still see the snowmobile tracks, but you wouldn't see if anyone walked there.
And they got more than 2 feet.
Yeah.
So I think it's like, and did they approach the snowmobile on the snowmobile tracks? So now you got your feet print mixed up with where his would have been. That's a good point.
There's probably only one way out there.
Yep.
So they probably started the search from where they started snowmobiling.
And they probably started the search on snowmobiles.
Yeah, on the tracks that the guys came in on, destroying any prints that would have been there.
Yeah.
So that's a good...
What they did, they needed us out there.
Yeah. But really, I mean, you can't blame them. That's the only way they could get out there.
Oh, no, I'm not blaming them at all. I'm just saying when they say there's no tracks, like logically speaking, he either got abducted, which I'm saying didn't happen, or he walked out because his body wasn't there.
The only thing is, so at some point along that snowmobile track, if he obviously left the snowmobile trail, you should theoretically, because they started searching pretty quickly within a day.
Yeah.
The 28 inches of snow happened over a series of days, not in 24 hours. That would be crazy. So you would theoretically see human tracks walking off the snowmobile trail at some point along there.
Not if he walked a really long way along the snowmobile trail.
Someone else mooned us.
That's awesome.
Got some.
Get the public camera.
Yeah.
We say go Bruins.
Yeah. Got some crazy boomers walking by.
Did he say go Boomers or
Brewers,
go Brewers?
'cause I'm wearing Brewers shirt.
Oh, I thought he said go Bruins.
No, Brewers.
Oh.
We're in the Brewers.
Yep. All right, I did hit the public cam. Good. So hopefully we got him. That was funny.
That was funny. They had a few soda pops in them.
Yeah.
Where was I?
Talking about approaching the scene.
Yeah.
Footprints. I just think he probably walked along that path, and he had walked farther than they had thought was possible.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only thing that makes sense. And if he succumbed to the elements, and then there's 2 feet of snow over the course of a couple days.
Yeah. And I mean, Alaska is immense. It's
immense.
Huge. And they don't have the resources to search everything. I mean, it is completely possible that he maybe walked down the snowmobile tracks for a point and then for whatever reason wandered off, maybe to get shelter. Maybe he was thinking like, I'm going to get shelter for the night or something.
Yeah.
And he's just somewhere, he could be a mile off the trail, and searchers could have gone by 1,000 times and they just haven't found him.
Yeah.
And, that from those aerial shots, it would be nearly impossible to see it from the air.
Yeah, and I can't imagine when it's snow covered.
Yeah. And you've got a lot of predatory animals in the area that will disturb a body.
Yeah.
So you got to think that by May.
Yeah, in winter, low resources.
By springtime, all the animals are waking up and foraging. And I mean, though you would still, things like a snowboarding helmet aren't going to disintegrate.
Yeah.
That'll be there.
I think it's hard to find though. It's a black helmet.
Yeah. And, we talked going back to the episode years ago, Joshua Tree with the snow melt, there's a chance that if this is on a slope or a grade, that if his body was somewhere and there's 28 inches of snow start melting, it could have washed away somewhere else.
Sure.
So I don't know. Yeah, it's very interesting.
I don't think it was aliens.
No, not aliens.
No.
But
that's my favorite button now.
Yeah. So sadly, too, it's just a sad case of 2 brothers going missing.
Yeah, those odds are so incredibly low.
I mean, I guess in Alaska, you probably have the best odds of that happening.
Yeah, but still, it's wild. That's really unfortunate for that family. I mean, for that older brother, too.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it as like an older brother. You feel like you have a responsibility already.
Yeah.
And 2 of your younger brothers have gone missing without a trace within, a decade.
Got to think too, I got to be careful with myself.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's too bad.
Crazy.
So let us know your theories. Call the number. Share it on the socials, whatever you think happened. Thanks again for tuning into our show. We appreciate all of you for listening and sharing locations unknown with your friends and family. Be sure to like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, where you can find all the videos of each episode. Also, if you'd like to support the show monetarily, please visit our website or Facebook store to buy some sweet, sweet swag. You can also subscribe to our Patreon account on YouTube, on Apple, maybe Twitter eventually someday, or X. Maybe that's why they don't let us, because I keep calling it Twitter.
Yeah.
And in addition to the shows and the videos, you'll also get access to special events and special episodes that you do not get on the main feed that are for paid subscribers only. And lastly, I should say, we're going to be recording with National Parks After Dark next Monday. So that will be coming out relatively soon on their channel, and then we'll do a reverse collab where they'll come on our show after that. So stay tuned for that. And lastly, when enjoying the beauty of nature, whether backpacking, camping, or simply taking a walk, always remember to leave no trace. Thanks, and we will see you all next time.